we'll get to the wild women part with Shinie, but before that, so the idea of sisterhood is something we find in your book also. So I mean, it's like literally every page in both these books is a revelation, and you're using a lot of biblical terms like Genesis, Revelation, all of this in the wrong context biblically. But but then I don't want to give too much away, but right from Zeba's birth to her, let's say, to the decision that's made on her upbringing, to her discovery of her powers, everything happens because of sisterhood, right? And was that conscious, or did it just unfold? And sorry, in case if it whatever it was, what do you think influenced the thought behind it?
I think it was unconscious, to be honest, but because I feel like sisterhood is something that I have experienced very beautifully in my own life. So a lot of things, decisions, I don't know, achievements I've managed to, garner for myself have happened because of a lot of love, support, care, from the women around me. And I don't think in popular media we talk about that or represent that enough. It's always about the cat fights and like who's bitching whom and I can't stand you and oh if you're gonna if a man is gonna cheat on a woman it has to be about the two women and not about the partner who's actually cheating. And I felt like that's a very like horrible way of looking at it. And I think in my life I've been nurtured by a lot of women around me and I don't know what I would do with my sisters, my female friends. And I think it just kind of made its way because I do something which is I don't know what your process of writing is. I'm not a author in the
Now
sense
you
like
are.
I'm the reluctant author. But my style of writing is very like unconscious, free flowing, wake up in the morning while doing my morning pages and you sort of let it flow without really trying to put a structure to it. And I think it just crept its way into it, all the things I think I believe somewhere, in my head, including the sisterhood angle.
Right, so the wild women that I wanted to talk about now, Zeba does whatever the hell she wants to, and becomes a superhero along the way. Now Lilith was cast out. The version I had heard, and I think the version which most people hear, without going into the details, is that she was cast out of Eden for some error on her part. May I say why? So she's cast out of Eden because when Adam wants to sleep with her, she insists that she will be on top. And this is not fictional, this is the actual myth. So,
What a dummy.
so can you like tell us about your discovery of the myth and how that's, I mean, because then you've gone on to, Lilith is heartbroken at first, but then she becomes her own woman and there's this beautiful, she essentially becomes her own woman through sex. So can you just talk a little bit about your discovery of the Lilith myth and then your recreation or your creation of Lilith as her own woman?
So she discovers that to make one man unspecial, she has to make many men special. That's the part that you're talking about. But she also, like Huma said, discovers that, we are kind of conditioned to think there's this one man or there's this soulmate, and most of us, of course, are presumed also to be hetero. So there is this one man who's waiting for you, and if that doesn't work out for some reason, then your whole life is destroyed and you're distraught, and then, no other love is going to replace this. But what she also realizes that finding Miss Right for herself, finding the perfect female friend who's been through everything that she's been through, who has the same hormones, who has the same biology, who has the same way of thinking, and who has also suffered under the patriarchy, who has also undergone that same drill that most women do. I think the potential of friendship between two women, it's infinite, it's immense. And sometimes it's not tapped. And I also apologize because I feel when I was younger, I did not think that way. I wasn't really conscious and aware of the women around me, and if they were getting a fair deal, I wasn't really thinking about that so much. I was blessed with an extremely feminist father who brought me up like in the center of his palm, and I thought the world is that. The world is going to greet me as an equal. And it's only when you set out into the world that you realize that some people have a harder fight than you do. So I feel with Lilith, she did fall in love with Adam very, very, because he was the only man and she was the only woman. It's not like she had a choice. You know, he was just attractive to her because there was no other man also. But this whole thing about being on top, I think, was probably, I'm just thinking for her, is also probably her thinking that that was the best form of birth control, and that was her taking her pleasure into her own hands, and she was going to steer the relationship, the physical part of it, and therefore then she could probably be in the driver's seat in the emotional part of it. So when she's cast out and she walks out of Eden, she goes, she walks and she walks and she walks without a backward look for a long time. And finally, when she turns around and looks, Eden is just like this tiny dot far away. And the rest of earth is hers.